Okay. So, can you tell me your name?
Yeah, I'm Jeff DeRosa.
Okay, and what are you doing here at the pole?
This season, I'm a meteorologist this year, taking primarily focusing on weather observations, surface-based observations, and the upper air equipment. We have our upper air observations as well. So, in the summer, we primarily focus on flight support. In turn, flight support also turns into research as well. So all that data goes to both communities for the forecasters and planes coming in. So.
So what's special about weather at the pole?
What's special about weather at the pole is, for one thing, how close we are to the weather at the pole. As I was talking to you about earlier, when you have cirrus clouds that are coming in at 6,000 feet above you, back home you'd be watching those same clouds come in at 30,000 feet above you. The cold, for one, when someone asks what the temperature is, we never say it's minus this or it's minus that. We always just say 28 degrees, and everyone knows that we're talking minus 28 degrees because it's rare in Fahrenheit that we get above zero. Record high all time here is 7.5 degrees above zero Fahrenheit. So it's yeah.
Wow. It's
so
actually been that warm?
It's been that warm, and actually last summer I was here, it got that warm. It was and everyone was walking around in shorts and t-shirts on that day because it was so nice. It was just beautiful, as opposed to the winter when it gets down to minus 107 degrees.
Wow.
So, which is a different story.
So what interests you in doing weather at the pole?
What
How'd
interests
you get
me?
down here?
Well, what interests me about doing weather at the pole is my meteorology career started on top of Mount Washington, and I've always been into the extreme environments such as the summit of Mount Washington, and then the close connection of the two brought me down here. It's I always wanted to see these really cold temperatures, or feel them, I should say, and this is the place to do it. So I did my first winter down here, and after seeing weather for that first year, you just kind of fall in love with this place and just keep coming back. So.
Yeah, I mean it's something as someone who views a lot of weather information on from instruments.
Yep.
What is it for you that's special about actually being in these extreme environments? What does that tell you?
Hey, the extreme environments for me, I've always been very fascinated in weather. So when you're driving through the mountains and you hear a weather report from the top of the mountains that say it's 30 degrees colder up there, you always want to hike that mountain to see what that environment is like. And reading National Geographic and hearing about how extreme the conditions are down here at the South Pole, it's just such a unique thing that you grow accustomed to. And when you get off that plane for the first time, as you felt today, you get off and you just feel that extreme difference. I think it's just that just how different it is in the rest of the world. It's very interesting, and as a weather guy, you like to mix it up,
Yeah. Do you feel like now that you've experienced these extreme environments, that when you look at a weather chart or a forecast, like you have more of a sense of what's happening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. It's my experience back on Mount Washington, for instance, when you hear of hurricane force winds, you spend all that time up there in hurricane force winds, you know what people are going through. And now being back here, when you hear about extreme cold weather, all relative, of course, being down here and knowing what that brutal cold is like, you understand what people feel like, even if it's just in northern Florida where it gets down to 50 degrees and people are real cold, you kind of understand what it is on a cultural level that people go through when you feel those extremes. Because when I was down here in the winter, the coldest I saw was 108 below zero, and that puts a toll on your body, but it's all relative, back home when it's 0 degrees, you feel cold too. I don't know if that answered the question, but
yeah. Do people in your experience, do people affect the weather? So people are affected by the weather, but do people also affect the weather?
People affect the weather, yeah. I believe so. When I go home, a lot of people say to me all the time, "Oh, it's so cold outside." And then they look at me and they say, "Oh, it must not be cold to you." And it's like, yeah, it is, because I'm in this environment now. Down here, when it gets down to minus 60, we don't have the weather affecting it's not making black ice on the roads, and it's not affecting the way the pine tree is having to go dormant because of those conditions. You know, so it's all relative, it's all different, and I think people and the environment that you're in definitely affects the weather.
What role does the pole and maybe Antarctica as a whole play in like regional weather and then like world weather?
Well, more for the southern hemisphere, the Antarctica in general plays a huge role on what's going on, because it's the southern hemisphere's refrigerator, really. I mean, you have in the north, you get obviously the cold outbreaks, but they're nowhere near what they are in Antarctica because they don't have that landmass up there. So the North Pole is it's not nearly as cold as it is down here. So you have all this cold air being born here in Antarctica, and then just infiltrating the Southern Ocean and points thereafter. So hey,
why is it so cold then?
The biggest reason why it's so cold is because of the lack of water. Geography dictates a lot of meteorology. So when you look at a map of the North Pole and you see very little land mass, you have the sun coming in and warming up that water, and the biggest difference up there is you're sitting on 12 feet of ice, where down here you're on 2 miles of ice, you know, so that sun's energy just gets reflected down here, and so our temperatures just take that tumble. But the water is a huge difference why we're so much colder down here than the North Pole is.
And why is it cold at the poles in general?
Latitude.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, latitude is
like what does that mean? Just because how the sun is hitting it?
Yeah, how the sun's hitting it. The sun has to go through a lot more atmosphere to before it reaches the surface here. The angle is much different. Angle plays a huge role. The highest the sun ever goes up here is 23.5 degrees above the horizon, where at the equator, you know, it's right above your head. So just the angles are so much different, and we don't get a whole lot of that sun energy.
So how would you describe like kind of a typical weather day at the South Pole?
Cold.
Either in summer or winter.
Well, yeah, depending on the time of year, it's much more clear during the winter time. That's why we're here in the first place, because the clarity, there's such little amount of moisture in the atmosphere that the astronomers here can just see clear, very clear. It's much more clear here than in the driest desert and mid latitudes that you'll ever go to. Low latitudes, I mean, yeah, low. And what was the rest of the question?
And what's a typical
typical day?
like?
Yeah, so it's always, most of the time it's clear, most of the time it's cold, all the time it's cold, but just clear, calm. We don't get very much wind here. Our peak gust ever is 48 knots, and you know, back home you'll get that a couple times a year, depending on where you're from.
And what's your most unusual day at the pole meteorologically?
The one that you're seeing right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, when we get fog in here and we have that very light rime ice that's accumulating outside, it's very atypical. And to see the days that we had right before you came down, when it got real windy out, we broke 2 peak wind gust records this last week, both of one of 35 miles per hour, the other one of right around 30 miles per hour. And you know, in the real world, that wouldn't be a peak wind gust for the day, but down here it is. It's just not windy here at all.
Wow. Now someone said that the snow accumulation here has increased because of people's presence here. Is that true, or have you heard that?
Not the snow accumulation, just the way that the snow settles around the station. So what we'll have is, you'll see right off to the north, it's definitely raising up there, but that's just because of the new station and the way that the snow comes up and settles around where it is. But at the pole in general, no, it's not. It's not accumulating anymore because of our presence.
Oh, so what was it that first got you interested in meteorology and weather?
Hurricane Gloria.
Oh, really? When was that?
Whatever, late 80s, I guess it was. Just sitting back in Bath, Maine, and my mom turning on the Weather Channel, and there we were watching this amazing storm come in, and watching the branches fall down outside, and then all the big snowstorms we get during the winter too. Snow was definitely a huge one. I remember when I was in high school doing being a weather geek, driving inland to find where the rain snow line was and stuff like that. So just little, I mean, most weather people started off as weather geeks, and I'm no different. So
you could say that you like